So I've been diagnosed with severe depression and severe social anxiety disorder. I was diagnosed with severe depression in 2013, um, as well as anxiety in 2013, and more recently ADHD in 2017. Um, I think I always knew there was something that I had, like I was depressed, I was unhappy, I had some issues. So it was I was expecting a diagnosis that was going to be diagnosed with depression at the very least, but I was told I had social anxiety disorder as well. Um, I just kind of feel the same. I don't think much has changed really, to be honest. I'm on medication now, antidepressant medications. I take one every night. The dose has gone up and down, varying on what's happened in my life. So I've had some sort of bad stuff happen, like a cousin's died, so the dose was increased. I've had, to be honest, trouble with counselling or therapy, or seeking therapy or counselling or receiving it. I have tried to get it in the past, but it's never really seemed to work out. I've been told before that I've had sort of too many different things going on with anxiety, depression, grief, and addiction issues to really pinpoint where to address the issues. So I've had trouble seeking counselling and therapy, but I'm certainly not against it. So I've got friends that I've made here at university, good friends. But I'd say my main support would be my girlfriend, Dominique, my partner. Um, she's the person I speak to most about stuff, and I can confide in her about stuff if I ever need to confide in someone about something. So I do have people I can speak to, but they're not necessarily anyone sort of medically trained or in that profession. They're just people that are in my life that care about me. So I'd say the root cause would be grief. I've lost a few family members over the last few years. My grandparents, my mother, my cousin who I was very close to, I was actually living with at the time. I've lost a few people. That has led to sort of addiction issues with drug and alcohol, and I think all of that's like kind of like an endless cycle, like a negative endless cycle. So as it started with grief and drug addiction, yeah, that's been the main root causes of my mental health issues. Well, I suppose they're all related to drugs. So one of those times I almost drowned in a canal, which my cousin unfortunately actually did drowning a year afterwards. And that was when I was walking back. Well, I was quite intoxicated on several substances. Other times I've almost overdosed from opioids like morphine and tramadol, but I've had people found me. That happened twice. And then one of the times I did actually attempt suicide, I took 250 plus prescription strength pills, benzodiazepines as well as opioids and alcohol in an attempt to kill myself. But I was found by people, and I think that the police got involved and sort of took me away in an ambulance. But the issue was not really dealt with at the time. Nothing was really done. I was just sort of discharged. So I just feel very bleak about things, like everything's dire, like nothing's really gonna improve. But that's only during those times. And my main coping mechanism is my own sort of. I feel like it's almost like a cleansing thing for myself is to take drugs basically, being around the bush. So I'll take pills, I'll abuse Xanax along with alcohol, heavy amounts of scotch, like drinking straight scotch. I smoke heavy amounts of cannabis. I'm a daily cannabis user. From I wake up, I smoke. Before I go to sleep, I smoke. Midday, I smoke. Before work, I smoke. Before university, I smoke. Before I go see someone, I smoke. I'll abuse pills. But if I'm feeling particularly low and I feel that need, my sort of self-harm method is abusing drugs and knowing but just being completely apathetic to the fact that I'm doing my body a great deal of harm, because in my head I'd rather just be intoxicated and high and numb to it at that time. So unfortunately when I wake up I don't feel very well. I feel quite sick, I feel uneasy, I feel anxious, I feel so for the most part, I feel like my life is almost underlined by getting high and then coping for a period and then getting high again to cope for the next period. I unfortunately have nightmares and bad dreams every night that I've been trying to get rid of, but unfortunately I've not done yet. Um, I have a lot of bad dreams and nightmares about my past and stuff that's happened to me. So a lot of stuff that has happened to me in the past I think about a lot in my dreams or in a day. So I usually use drugs and weed and stuff to get through the day. My life almost plays out like from one high to the next, like from just to cope. So if I'm ever in a stressed out situation, which is most days, I'll be just waiting to get high again. Because at the moment that's the easiest and most effective solution. Well, it's not a solution, but it helps at the time. So I was living in a hostel, and I really was probably at one of my lowest states I've probably ever been in my. Yeah, I would say one of those lowest states I've ever been in period in my whole life. It wasn't too long after my mum had died. I'd been made homeless and then put into a hostel, so I felt like I'd lost pretty much everything. I had lost everything, um, and it was at a time in the UK where research chemical drugs, as they call them, were very popular, and you could just buy these things online, and you could smoke some of them, you could take some of them, and they were like these fake benzodiazepines, which is like related to Valium, Xanax, stuff like that. And for weeks I'd been taking these pills, like massive amount of pills every day, sort of building up to it. And then finally I took like 250 odd pills, plus some more opioid pills, and alcohol. And somebody in the hostel must sort of got wind of it and alerted, the police, an ambulance, 999, I suppose. So the police came, basically kicked down the door, and sort of had to restrain me into a hospital. I don't know, the ambulance chair bed thing, take me into hospital. But once I got there, because I saw the thing afterwards as well, the discharge thing, they was under the impression that I was simply high on cannabis. Because of that, I wasn't like purged of the drugs that were still in my system. And when I was seen by mental health nurses to see if I was okay, because I was so intoxicated, I was like, yeah, I'm great, I'm fine, I'm happy, I'm cool, I'm awesome. But I was in a different universe. I didn't even know what my name was at that time. But they discharged me out into the streets, and I don't think I've ever really been the same since, to be honest. Because those drugs, they stayed in my system, and they just slowly worked their way through over a few days. But yeah, so it wasn't even really recognized, ironically, at the time as a serious thing as it actually was. It just kind of went unnoticed, and I just got on with it, and that kind of taught me that it's really hard to actually kill yourself. My relationships with my family are basically non-existent. Um, I probably have a good couple of hundred family members individually if you add them all up north in Yorkshire. Yeah, I don't have any relationship with them. So after my mother died, there was no empathy showed towards me. I never really know why either, that's the thing. My mum was always kind of a black sheep of the family, and I guess that was passed down to me because after my grandparents died, they were kind of like the head of the family. Everything just kind of splintered, and then my mum died, and I was left to it. My cousin Jason, he damn near saved my life. I credit him with a lot of stuff. He's the reason I was able to come to university to begin with and actually make something of my life. He took me in, and the only reason he didn't before was he was just completely unaware of the situation because, like me and my mother, he was also seen as a black sheep of the family. So he was not aware of what was happening with me until after my suicide attempt. As soon as he heard about what had happened, he literally arranged transport and he drove over to Wakefield from a village called Marsden in West Yorkshire, and he picked me up. He took me in, and he never asked for. Didn't he never ask? It was him and his wife Emma, who I still speak to and I still call out of respect Auntie Emma. Um, they never asked for board or anything, but I gave what I could out of I was getting ASA, like, which is basically like, like benefits for people with mental health issues and whatnot. Um, Not much, but I gave him what I could out of board. But one of my aunties actually called him up and tried to get him to kick me back out onto the street and make me homeless again. So there's no love either way for the majority of my remaining blood family. What I do have in family, they're my friends, and I'm not related by blood, but they're people that I choose to have in my life because they've proven that they give a shit about me. Obviously, like anybody else, my girlfriend's just a human being, so she has a certain level of patience, and that can be met at sometimes, and sometimes, I can go past that point. But it is understood in a relationship, like, she has her own things, that are not ideal. I have my things. I think that's kind of across the board with a lot of people. So it can sometimes cause issues. It can sometimes cause arguments if I'm particularly stressed out and anxious, and it sort of manifests itself with me being sort of grumpy or short, or a bit sort of just frustrated for no particular reason. It can cause an argument. But thankfully, for the most part, she's understanding and she's accommodating the fact, like, it's recognised within a relationship I do have mental health issues that I am trying to sort of work through and deal with. At the moment in this country, and it's not down necessarily just a conservative government, but because I think worldwide mental health isn't addressed as seriously as it should be. But in this country, specifically, we've had austerity cuts, which have drained resources from mental health services, local services, councils, things that could, help people in theory and offer counselling, therapy. I don't think there's enough available for people in the UK. Certainly not for young people. Like, I think a lot of people know this fact, a lot of people don't. People my age, men between sort of 20 and 30, the biggest thing that kills men in the UK between men my age is suicide. Like, it's a real issue. Depression, anxiety disorders, people with post-traumatic stress disorder, people with personality disorders, people who just don't even really feel like they fit into the society that they're a part of. They need to have things in place for them so they know that they can get help and they can get better. But one thing that is a very serious issue is mental health, because it's a hidden thing. It's something that people are walking around, you can't see that it's, they're not marked with it. Anyone dealing with mental health issues, if you're struggling, which I think when it comes down to when we speak about mental health, it's a negative thing. People are struggling with it. Anything to do with anxiety, depression, never feel like any situation you're in is permanent, because it's not. It's the easiest thing to think it is, and to feel like you're sort of doomed and this is your life and you're allotted to this. You can never escape it, but that's just not true. You can, and you can get over it. You can overcome. You can adapt. Something that's led my life is the thought of adapt and overcome. And there's this little voice thing in my head, and this works for me when I'm struggling. And it's like it's an alternative version of me, like a stronger version of me. And he tells me, "I will drag you kicking and screaming. In the end, you will thank me for it, like you always do." And that's all it is. Pick yourself up, carry on, improve. If you can just have one thing in the day to accomplish, one goal, no matter how small it is, no matter how tiny it is, just accomplish that. That's progress. Progress is progress. No one can ever tell you anything any different. And stay strong, because life can be beautiful.